Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of The M Word. My name's Robin. I'm the technical director here at Man and Machine in the UK. And as always, it's a pleasure to have you with us live on YouTube this afternoon. I'm looking at the preview out the corner of my eye, and there's something really bizarre going on because I pressed a button to play the intro video, which I didn't see, but it did play the intro video. So I'm a little bit concerned that whatever I press is not going to work. But we will deal with that as and when we can. There's clearly some midi-chlorian microorganisms doing some intelligent things over there. Who knows? But welcome, and it's a pleasure to have you with us. My button box isn't working. I'm just going to say that to Ellie in the corner of the room because something is going on. Gremlins. Sorry, those buttons work. What a mess. Note to self, check your button box works before going live on YouTube. I'm going to try and press my like and subscribe button. I know what it is. It's the order. Sorry, camera. It's the... ignore it. So, I'm out of sorts. Let's start that again. Let's start that again. So, these sessions, if you're new to them, they're normally a little bit more slick than this, so I do apologise. We air these most Thursdays, I'm going to say every Thursday. And the idea really is to give you a workflow, a tip, trick, a what's new, a feature, or just something that we hope you'll find interesting or boost some productivity inside of the Autodesk design tools that we sell and support here at Man and Machine. It doesn't matter whether you're on the construction side of the business, or the manufacturing side, we deal with both. So we support the likes of Inventor, Fusion, Vault, Revit, AutoCAD, the Autodesk Construction Cloud, and we try and keep it quite varied week on week as to what we actually cover during these sessions. Today we're looking at ACC, the Autodesk Construction Cloud, and trying something different, I guess. We're going to go through my favorite 5 features. Bit cheesy, but my favorite 5 features inside of the Construction Cloud, just to share with you really what I think works really nicely inside of the system, and maybe there's some things in there that you didn't realize it did, or maybe you didn't know that that you had access to them. But last week, for example, we were looking at Inventor and how to code Inventor using iLogic. So we do cover a whole plethora of different features and tools. So check out our YouTube channel. Please give us a like, give us a subscribe, and more importantly, let us know what you want to see during these sessions, because if we can make them more flavoursome or more specific to you, then we'd love that. So please get in touch. Without further ado, I'm going to shrink myself down. Apparently, my microphone went off. Try that again. Okay, I am just going to shoot off camera for a second and wonder why, when I go to my small microphone, things are not working. Okay, hang on a second. So I am going to move that down to the corner. This is going to look a little bit less slick. Again, I'm not really sure what's going on today. Really, really sorry. I'm going to be looking here because that's where my screen is, and that's where my other camera is. But you're there, so apologies. I dressed up smart for the occasion today as well. So here we are. Autodesk Construction Cloud, so Autodesk's software as a service. And this is housing all sorts of tools. We have document management in the form of Autodesk Docs. We have model coordination and collaboration in the form of BIM Collaborate and BIM Collaborate Pro. And we also have site workflows in the form of Autodesk Build. And the first thing that I really love about the Construction Cloud is its customizability. I'm going to make that word up. I don't even care that that's not a real word. I love it. How customizable this is to a user. And the example I'm going to give is on our homepage. So I've just got this looking at my projects page here, but I'm going to click on My Home on the left-hand side. And we can start my launch screen in ACC to be My Home. And this is a fully customizable page. So when it's on My Home, I get all of these cards, and all of these cards show me different metrics or different pieces of information from inside my projects, plural, on ACC. And it's fully customizable. So on the top right of your screen, if you're an administrator, you've got a customize button. I can press that customize button and I can open my card library. And from that card library, I can start picking up individual different cards to place. Some of those cards can be driven through third-party plugins, which again is really, really nice. So I'm just going to pick a few of these up just to show you how we'd go through. So let's turn on recently viewed items, and let's also go and turn on, what else could I do? Have I got any other third-party plugins? I think I already turned on my power search. Yeah, I'll show you that one in a second. But as you can see, there's loads on here, and they're not all Autodesk ones. So I'm just going to turn on a couple of the Autodesk ones here and click Add Card. And what that does, if I scroll my page, is it adds all of these different cards onto my page. These cards can then be dragged around. So I can move these around on my homepage and clearly also remove them as well to really customize what it is that I'm looking for. So I'm going to remove some of those. And then against each of these cards, they can be configured. So my bookmarks, for example, I can come and edit the title. I can add individual bookmarks from there. And that can be any URL. So if I wanted to link directly to Google, for example, this could be a site-specific page, a contractor's page, whatever it might be, an intranet page. I can add as many bookmarks on here as we like to. So I can literally start building up a homepage. The real benefit here is I can get visibility of stuff. I'm looking at this camera, you're over there. You can get visibility of stuff across all of your projects in one location. And just here, I can see any issues that are assigned to me, any RFIs or submittals or reviews that are assigned to me. So it's starting to show me my working list, my to-do list on my projects day to day. The card library is ever expanding, but really, whilst I'm showing you this as feature number one, the sheer nature of ACC and how customizable it is at the press of a button, I love, and I think that's really useful because it's quick. You don't need to be a wizard in any specific tool set or language in order to make the tool work for you, which is hugely, hugely beneficial. So that's feature number one. And again, props to My Home. I think that works really, really nicely and really well. Props. I've never used that word before. I like it. I feel younger. Wearing a suit and coming out with young, hip words. I love it. So that's the first one. The second one, I mean, naturally, the viewer in here is fantastic. Clearly, Autodesk designed this thing, and because they design AutoCAD and Revit and Inventor and Fusion and 3ds Max and Maya, and the list goes on, they are very, very good at making 3D and 2D viewers, full stop. So if I jump over into my document management environment, I'm just going to scroll down this folder list here and just go and find a 3D file. We'll use a Revit file. Let's go into my architects folder and let's just scroll down and find a relevant file. Let's pick one that's got a few versions on it. Where's my version attribute? My eyes are not working today. Where have you gone? version, there we go. And let's pick up and work on version 23, you'll do. So I can click on a file and I can view that file natively directly inside of ACC. Doesn't matter whether it's a PDF, a DWG, a DWF, a Navisworks file, a Revit file, even things like point clouds. Within reasons, there are some limits. I'm looking at this camera again, you're over there. There are some limits with regards to physical file size when it comes to point clouds to be able to view them. I think it's 2 gig, something like that. But it works really, really well, and we can view extremely quickly. And as you can see here, it's a fairly simple Revit file, but it really works well. So I can zoom in and out just by using the same functionality that I use inside of Revit or AutoCAD. I can pan and I can also orbit around. I can also extract all of the properties against any object in my file. So if I go ahead and select one of the glazing panels from my curtain wall here, I can extract its properties and start looking at its metadata that exists inside of the Revit environment itself, which is really, really nice. I can start sectioning my model to add section planes or section boxes and customize those on the fly to be able to see a different view or different aspects of my model at any point in time, as well as being able to come in and do simple things like spot measurements or measurements face to face, point to point. I can come in and really use these tools and get great benefit from them instantly. And you don't need skills in Revit or a license of Revit to be able to come in and view this model, which is really, really cool. And the way that the model incorporates with other bits of technology in the system, you can see all of these colored pins that I've got all over the system here. They're actually issues that have been logged by different people. And to have that all in one singular location where I can come and click on a pin and see that issue, so long as I have permissions to do so, that someone logged at a point in time, and look at all the metadata and get involved in that coordination or collaboration piece. Again, I love that because it drives what the construction industry is all about. It drives really what we're trying to do around building information modeling in the construction industry, a better, more open, collaborative force across the construction project. And really this single viewer, which ties into all of these other different areas, really works well. And that's not an exhaustive list of functionality. There's so much more in here, like the ability to go and look at a 2D view against the same model. And then once you're on that 2D view, the ability to add redline markup and start working on that file more collaboratively, with the wider design team. It just works really, really well. So number 2 is the 3D viewer. It's fantastic. And that very quickly brings me on to number 3. And this might be my favorite feature, if I'm being brutally honest. But it is directly linked to the viewer itself, and that's the comparison tools. If I look to the top right over here, I've got this compare button. And what the compare button allows me to do is directly compare a version of a file with another. And it works both on 2D and 3D information. So because I'm looking at this ground floor GA, I could compare version 23 maybe back to version 15. And I've really got to hope that I can find something that's got some changes. So let's change between these two different versions and click compare. What the system will do is it will go away and it will compare those two files. So much so that it will actually identify both visually and with metrics what's been added, what's been removed, and what's been modified between those two versions. Now, naturally, you're not necessarily going to do what I've done and say, look at the last 8 versions of the file. Between data drops, if you're receiving something from a fellow designer, a different discipline on the project, you can have a look at what's changed and what's different within that file, which might help you out when it comes to appreciating those changes inside of your Revit environment or whatever it might be. This is a fully live list, so I can focus purely on what's been added either group level or even individual items, such as show me all of the walls or show me all of the internal architecture that has changed. I can also filter this list by searching or by clicking individually a specific category inside of Revit that a component has been added, removed, or modified on. Each of these individuals can be selected, and it gives you an indication of what's been modified within that particular file. And again, to do this inside the same tool, it's quick. It's really quick, and it's really, really a pleasure to use, and I love it. I am a self-confessed geek, and I don't care. I think it's great. The other thing that you can do is you can also download these to a CSV file. So you could get this into granular levels of detail should you want to, and even look at that more specifically in a CSV format using Power BI or an internal reporting tool. What gets me is the visual transparency. So at the moment, my two files are overlaid, but I can also say that I want to see those side by side. And for 2D, this really is great. I can grab this splitting bar, I guess I'm going to call it, at the top of my screen here. Oops. And if I just move my mouse to the left and pan, click and hold the middle mouse, you can see that it's panning both views. And it's actually navigating the two files in exactly the same place at exactly the same time. So if I go and have a look at a given room, maybe let's bring up my change list and focus on just what's been added. When I start looking around the model, have I got anything? Let's go to removed. I can go and identify the things that have changed or the things that have removed and look at what they look like now in comparison to what they did look like back then. Really, really nice. That was a 2D compare, but we can also equally do a 3D compare of the same files. The functionality is exactly the same, apart from your comparison is in 3D rather than 2D. Hence why you're comparing a 3D file. Because it's a 3D file, it's a bit more focused on what's going on. Maybe you get a little bit more information because you're looking at the whole building rather than a set GA or a set elevation. But again, the ability to go and look at it discipline specific or even go and look at individual components really is fantastic. And that's why it's in my number 3. The model comparison tools are fantastic. So far, how customizable it is. Number 2, the viewer. And number 3 is very specifically the model comparison tool because it really, really is fantastic. The next one I'm going to go through is still related to models, but it's actually within the BIM Collaborate toolset. And that's the ability to clash. I'm just going to go and change my project here just because I don't have model coordination set up on the previous project. And what model coordination enables you to do is configure a coordination space on your project. And this is basically one or more folders that exist within your project space that you're telling the clashing tools, I want to look there for any models that you find that are supported, such as Revit and Navisworks files or IFC files. And with those files, I want to be able to clash them. What that allows me to do within this environment is say, okay, I would like to pick up the MEP file and the structural file of this new supermarket design that we're working on here. And I want to open those in the viewer. You get the same viewer that we've just been using, but actually you get more tools because as well as all of the other things that I've showed you, you also have the ability to run clashes directly. These clashes are instant. The reason being is the clashes have actually already taken place. As soon as you upload files into those coordination spaces, what the system does is it starts clashing them in the background so that when you ask to see those clashes, it's instant. So I can come in here and say that I've got 53 clashes between these two files. And I can see them visibly as I look from the outside in on this design. And I can come in and look at any of those individual clashes. I can click them, and anyone that's used to Navisworks will be right at home in here. The functionality is very, very similar. So we can filter our clashes, we can group our clashes, and we can start working on those clashes individually. But it's more modern than Navisworks. It, in my opinion, works quicker. The view is certainly nicer to work with. But with this clash here, we can see that we've got these cable trays that are going through these two beams. So it is an issue from a modeling perspective. So what I can do is I can grab that issue, or indeed a single component as part of that issue. I'm just going to grab the whole issue itself, and I can either say, this isn't a problem, ignore it, and it will ignore it from that point onwards, or I can say that I would like to create an issue of that, and guess what? It turns it into one of those lovely rainbow coloured pins on my model viewer, which I like, which was number 2. Nearly swore at the camera there. Number 2, which is great. So I can come in and add an issue. I can classify that as a clash. I can click a position of the clash, and it will go through the issue creation process, which again directly links to all of those tools that I've showed you already. This would show in the viewer. It would show up on my home screen. It really is an interconnected device which works beautifully. And it's fast and it's automatic. And that's why, for me, the clash detection tools inside of BIM Collaborate are on my top 5 list, because it's just easier. I am a Navisworks user. I prefer using this. I still use Navisworks alongside it for maybe a little bit more granular detail or clearance clashes or point cloud clashes. But this is really, really good because of its speed, and it's much more modern than Navisworks, which, bless it, is a little bit dated now. Each of these views can also be saved, and we can save this, my clash view, to be shared with other people in the organization or other people on the project. And that would take that view of clashes and it would save that in a single area where you can very quickly go and see the work that's been done. Again, greater coordination, greater open collaboration, and really alignment to what we're trying to do, working with UK construction and building information modeling. And that's why it's on my list. So number 4, the clashing tools inside of BIM Collaborate. I'm going to do an honorary mention for BIM Collaborate Pro. There's nothing for me to show in BIM Collaborate Pro. That rhymes. There's nothing to show in BIM Collaborate Pro. I like that. But it's fantastic, because what BIM Collaborate Pro lets you do is live work share using the Construction Cloud. Anyone out there that's using Revit alongside a central file sat in Revit server or sat on a NAS box or something like that, the speed increase that you will get by driving it through the cloud using BIM Collaborate Pro is second to none. It is exceptional, and there is a huge return on investment to be had there in time saving versus using a legacy Revit server or the file sat within a WAN location. So work sharing across a network, please check out BIM Collaborate Pro. I'm not going to show it, so it's not on my 5 things, but actually if there was something to show that would be interesting, it's great. So honorary mention for that one. And that brings me on to my final number 5. And to do number 5, I'm going to jump into my build area, which I seem to have closed my project, which is really not very useful. So let's go and find the project that I want to search for, which is going to go to my home screen. Let's filter this by my man and machine and look at ACC. And on here, I'm going to go ahead and open up, what could I use for this one? I've got on here, is it that one? No, it's not Snowdon Towers. It's the, where have you gone? It's a hospital one somewhere. Yep, the Cardino Wings Hospital. So let's open this one. So it's forms. So there are so many site workflows that work for different companies inside of Autodesk Build. But for me, the digitization of information is really, really important. And the amount of people out there that are writing a physical form on a clipboard when they're on site, and then either getting back to the office and typing it up, or handing it to someone else to do some data entry on. Using this system, we can digitize those forms and we can make that whole process work through the cloud from any device. I'm on a laptop today, but this could be from your phone or from a tablet whilst on site. So from my build environment using Autodesk Build, the clue's in the name, we can open up forms. And we have two types of form that we can work with. Firstly, if you already have PDF forms, not a blank PDF that looks like a form, an actual PDF form, we can just import them and use them as is inside of the system. So we don't need to do any additional work with those. Upload them and they will work. We can also create ACC forms. An ACC form will give us maybe a little bit more flexibility, and it's quicker than creating an Adobe form, and it allows us to do anything from scratch. So I can come into my forms, I can click create form, and I could go and pick one of my templates. Your templates are an existing form that exist in my system that I want to fill out. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. And then from here, we can submit the different sections that exist within that form. And this form has been set up with a number of different areas. And you can instantly see that as well as asking me to fill out certain information, it's telling me what I need to fill out versus what I don't need to fill out. So I can come in here and it's saying I've got 3 sections to submit. And I can go to those sections individually, or I can link to them using the little U things here. But I can go through and say, what is the, let's just fill this out, test. We can add a reference if we want to anything else that sits within the system. So if this is linked to a file on a design, if this is linked to something from site, maybe we've taken some photos on site or something like that, I can link these across to them. But we can give this a date, which is today. I can give this a location, and I can give it a due date tomorrow. I can then add a reference should I want to. Let's just link it to a photo that it exists and pretend that that's the one I want to use. From there, I can say, what's the project CDE? I can come in here and I can add a comment. Of course, it is ACC. Submit. I can come in and add my information containers. So what information containers are going to be stored in this project? Many, many containers. I'm not filling this out properly, of course, but you get the idea. I'm coming in and I'm filling out different sectional areas. And as I go through, my work list, if you like, on the left is being completed. So let's just come in and yes, no, submit section. Who's going to implement it? Why, us. Naturally. Oops. And submit. And then finally, let's fill this out with some comments. And why is that waiting on those sections? I thought I completed them. I submitted that. I submitted that. I submitted that. Pass. I won't labor the point, but you get the idea. We have forms that we can make and we can customize. We can control who can fill out what sections of the form and why. We can, as we're going through a form, we can copy that form to fill a similar form out several times for several different things. We can export that form out into different file formats. We can also add different commentary and bits and pieces like that onto that form. As we go through, that form will be stored automatically, digitally onto the system. That form is then directly searchable on the system by anyone that has permissions to do so. We can search based on completion dates, based on who it's been assigned to, based on who's created it, so on and so forth. So again, the digitization of what is a very manual process at the moment in the industry is really, really important. And again, setting these forms up is modern, it's slick. You don't need to understand coding. You're just dragging and dropping modules, if you like, onto the form to build that out. But if you're already using Adobe PDF forms, you can bring them online and use them as is. And really, that brings us to the end of my 5 things. I'm going to run over here and make me big again, just so that you can see me properly. There we go. So, number 1, how customizable it is, specifically around the My Home functionality. I really like it. It's really nice to be able to get an overview of your projects, all of your projects at any one time. Number 2, the model viewer. It really is second to none. Industry leading, class leading. Number 3 is the model comparison tools. And number 4 are the clashing tools. And yes, I know they're ever so much related to the viewer, but they are their own distinctive use cases or distinctive tools, which bring a lot to the day-to-day workflow. Honorary mention for BIM Collaborate Pro and its cloud work sharing capability. And finally, the forms inside of Autodesk Build and the ability to digitize your current manual processes. I will just say apologies for the equipment muddles, although you've probably enjoyed not getting the pop-up saying like and subscribe every 5 minutes. Please do like and subscribe. But apologies, the cameras and the microphones on and off and things like that. We'll get it fixed for next week. But thank you ever so much for watching. As always, it's been a pleasure. Take care and see you soon. Hopefully the outro button will work. I'm going to try it. Goodbye.